I recently interviewed an American woman who is now married to a French man. They were dating for months, but they never had the talk. And so she had assumed that she wasn't really his girlfriend until one day he had referred to her as one, like it was a given. The thing is, in the US, a relationship never really becomes official until you sit down and have the talk. Today, I'm gonna dive into why Americans do the defining the talk conversation, why Europeans don't, and actually which countries are way closer to the American approach than you might think. And of course, give this a follow if you like my content. My goal is to break down why cultures do what they do. So first of all, what is DTR? DTR stands for Define the Relationship. Essentially, both of you sit down and say, what are we? Are we now officially dating? Am I your boyfriend, your girlfriend? In the US, this conversation happens a few months in. But here's the interesting thing. Until then, you're essentially in the talking stage, which means that you can date as many people as you want to. Now, this was wild to me when I just found out. I'm born and raised in Russia, and so my idea of what a relationship is looks very different. And, from a personal standpoint, I even struggle to find one person that I'm attracted to, that I feel that we have a connection with, that our values align with. And so when people say, I put my focus into this one person, and so I wrapped up all my other conversations, I think, lucky you, you had all these other conversations that you were interested in. I mean, if I find that one person that I have a connection with, I just focus on that one person because I feel like it's so rare to find. Now, if you're not American like me, you might also get really confused by this concept. You mean to tell me that we see each other weekly, we hold hands, we cuddle, we watch movies together, and you're still dating some other girl? That honestly feels like cheating to me. Now, cheating is an interesting word because a lot of the Europeans that I've interviewed here in Canada also have described these situations to me and have said, well, this feels like cheating to me.
If you date someone and they date someone else, they are cheating on you. So it's like a process to be like, they are not cheating on me. It's normal for them.
And so even in Canada, we have something very similar to the US way of dating. But okay, let's get to the meat. Why do Americans actually have the talk? Now, Americans have a low context culture, putting them in the same box as, say, Germans, Dutch, or Israelis, some of the most direct people on this planet. Americans are not that direct. They're not going to be rude to your face. They're very careful around communication, but communication here tends to be very explicit. Theirs is a culture where you need to talk everything out.
You complete me.
And it makes sense if you look at it historically. American anthropologist Edward T. Hall makes an important differentiation. He says, low context cultures usually do not have shared history. It means that instead of relying on cues, you have to be very clear. It's like a newlywed couple that's still learning about each other versus an old couple that's like, I know that look, Fred. You hate my beef stroganoff. The US also ranks very high on the individualism scale alongside Australia, the UK, and the Netherlands. That means that personal goals come before group expectations and relationships aren't obligatory, they're chosen. Because nothing is automatic. Americans need to define what a relationship is. But Marina, that's all fine and good, but what's up with dating multiple people at the same time? Isn't that American consumerism culture? Okay, it gets a little bit complicated, but essentially a lot of it has to do with the optimization mindset. And before we go crazy and start hating on the US, let me just preface that by saying that we're doing this all over the world, with some countries more than others. But in a highly individualistic society like the US, people are used to evaluating options and optimizing for the best, whether it's buying an air fryer on Amazon, finding a place to eat on Friday night, or choosing a Netflix movie. With its endless options, it's easy to feel like that person is just around the corner. We just haven't found them yet. But is it any different in Europe? Well, it's yes and no. Let's talk about the most talked about comparison, and that is French dating. So unlike Americans, French are high context communicators. It's all about implied meaning, body language, a tone, a look, a change in voice. Sitting down and asking, what are we, can feel too explicit, too scripted. Unlike Americans who dislike ambiguity, the French live for it. They like exploring what is without the pressure, organically. It's akin to meeting someone in real life and having that playful banter and kind of flirting back and forth and seeing if there's real attraction versus using the app to go on the date, sit across from each other and have an interview style date where you fire the right questions at each other and you walk away from the date feeling, well, this person checks off the boxes. but it didn't feel any kind of attraction because it's so much harder to grow that attraction in that kind of a setting versus a natural setting where you're just kind of seeing if there's chemistry without imposing any kind of pressure on each other. So if you're dating one person and there is that attraction and connection, you focus on that one person instead of going, oh, let me also see what's going on with Ben from the app.
When a French person kisses someone, they are like, okay, we are together now. But here, it's different. Like when you kiss, you are not together. You are like, we don't know. In France, yes, we are together really quickly because we kiss. And after that, after 3 months, we are like, oh no, it's not working. Bye-bye.
But of course, this is a generalization. Bigger cities like Paris are akin to cities like New York with its myriad of options. So if you kissed Henri at the party, don't just assume you're now automatically together. You have to read the situation. But if he's acting like you are exclusive, you probably are. You don't need to have a big talk about it. And while France is a great example of a country that dislikes boxes, labels, date 1, we should do this, date 2, we should do this, first base, second base, third base. Southern Europe works very similarly. A great example of that is Spain, where relationships tend to form much more organically. People meet through friends or social circles, and then it just kind of evolves from there, but there's way less strict rules, and it may take very long, especially from my Eastern European mindset. If you guys want to know more about dating in Spain, you can check out my video, which is all about it. In Southern Europe, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, and parts of France, dating as Americans know it is actually pretty new. For most of the 20th century, romance grew through social circles, slowly and naturally. Men and women would get to know each other in groups organically, and relationships would emerge naturally over time. The US, on the other hand, took a very different path. Before the 1900s, there was no dating at all, just calling. A man would come to a woman's house, sit in the living room under the watchful eyes of her family, maybe sip tea, maybe listen to her play the piano. And that was it. Marriage was the goal. Then the 1920s happened. Everything moved out of the home and into restaurants, dance halls, and movie theaters. Suddenly, you weren't just seeing one person, you were seeing many people, because popularity meant going on lots of dates. For women, being in demand socially meant being seen out with different men. Dating wasn't just romance, it was status, visibility, and the subtle game of social chess. After World War II, the cultural pendulum swung towards stability, security, and family life. In the 1950s, the idea of going steady became popular, being exclusive with one person. And yes, there were rules. A guy might give a girl his class ring or a pin to show she was officially his. You stopped dating other people, you prioritize your partner socially. It was basically a vintage version of relationship labels. The 1960s and 70s threw all those rules out the window. The sexual revolution and birth control separated sex from marriage. Casual dating became normal, and situationships entered the lexicon decades early. Now, here is where it gets interesting. Eastern Europeans, Central Europeans, and the Balkans don't do the DTR thing either, but for a very different reason. Here it's more like, yeah, we went on 3 dates, we like each other, and we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Because it's simple. Relationships here are intentional, which means that people date with a goal in mind. People don't typically go with the flow, even though times are changing. But overall, there is still intention when it comes to relationships. Ask any Eastern European woman or a Central European woman to a lesser extent about what she wants in a man. And if you tell her about someone who wants to go with the flow, that will probably be a big turnoff for her. Because a sign of a man is someone who's able to take responsibility, to lead, to have intention. A great example of this is a conversation that I had with a beautiful 25-year-old Russian girl. Now, she was dating a guy around her age. He was Russian, but he was raised in the US, so very different values. And so they had this kind of relationship where he would take her with him. They would go to all these different places, but I think he never made it clear about who they were to each other. And so she told me this story. She was very, very frustrated. And she said to me, I just don't understand because to me, this doesn't seem like he is mature. And I thought to myself, well, he's 25, 26 years old. In the US or in Western Europe, that's still considered very young. But to that Eastern European mentality and mindset, A 25-year-old man is already someone who is mature and someone who's able to take responsibility. Now, that is a frustrating situation for a lot of women who want a relationship, but if you take most Western European or American women who are dating at that age, they're probably not looking for anything extremely serious. A lot of them are okay with going with the flow. So this is where the difference in values is really, really clear. In countries like Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Hungary, and Serbia, starting to date usually means you're exclusive from the very beginning. Historically, relationships were meant to lead to marriage, not casual fun. Families, tight-knit communities, and small social circles made that practical. But these countries also went through wars, economic struggles, and lots of political chaos. Family was often the only thing you can really count on, so people got married and had kids early. And that traditional mentality is still strong today. Loyalty to the family, sticking together through hard times, and taking relationships seriously. Now let's talk about a few countries that actually follow the American way. And these are low-context communicators. They dislike ambiguity, and they see romance in a kind of practical way. You won't be surprised to hear that they are Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, and to an extent Belgium, at least the Flemish part of Belgium. But here's the difference. It's less about the big, ritualized, emotional kind of love is blind talk and more about a practical check-in. Even on the first date, you might catch a German or a Dutch person firing off questions at you to assess compatibility. What do you do? Do you have an apartment? How many kids do you want? What does your life look like in 5 years? Essentially, unless they want to have a fun time with you, they're looking to see if you match their lifestyle, if you match their values, and essentially if you fit into their life long term. But Marina, that's how it is all around the world. Well, yes and no, because if you do that on a date with a French person or a Spanish person, that's probably going to be more of a turnoff because the goal of that date is just to have fun, to see if there is a vibe, to see if you even like each other to get to that next step. The thing is, the Dutch, the Germans tend to be more on the practical side of things. So they approach relationships the same way. If you tick the boxes, if they spend some time with you and can see it working long term, then you're someone they'll want to invest in. The process can take time, but they'll usually be pretty straightforward about it, so you're not left guessing where you stand. Now, before I end the video, let me just say that these cultural discussions are always generalizations to an extent. So you may meet a German or a French person that is completely unlike what I've just described, and they do dating completely differently, and that's okay. People are people. I just want you to be aware that these dating dynamics exist because I've met so many Americans who simply don't understand that there's a different way to do things, and that doesn't include defining a relationship. If it helps you understand the world a little bit better, I'm happy to hear it. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comments below which topics would you like me to cover. And until next time, keep breaking down your barriers.